Welcome to Two Gents, where two seasoned gents take on the hard truths of life, success, and responsibility. In a world where the rules don't bend for us, these gents believe in doing the work, owning the struggle, and inspiring others to take action. So, pull up a chair.
Good afternoon. Welcome to Two Gents Podcast. I'm your host, Ron Spikes. Tonight, you know, every once in a while I get these wild things going, and as I get on the air, I like to kind of cover a lot of stuff, a lot of different areas. But tonight I'm out here by myself. I'm one of the three people that do Two Gents Podcast, and I just like to every once in a while you hear some stuff, and I don't sleep at night. I'll tell you that right off the back. I'm not a big sleeper at night. I kind of go in and out. But last night, I was sitting there and I was listening to some information on this Trump situation. And I call it a situation, but I think this is the first time that they're going to actually have something on Trump that would actually stick. And I don't know how far the Democrats going to be able to push it. I don't know if they're going to push it or what they're going to do. It's a bipartisan thing. I think that everybody cares about kids and how you treat kids and what you do. And this is just one of those things that I don't think he's going to be able to roll over and run away from. This Epstein thing has a lot of twists and turns to it. And, you know, I want to tell you something. If you go out there and you Google, or you research hard enough, you find out just about everything that you need to know. Because as I go through this, I want to make sure that you understand that I got this information off the internet. And what the guy was saying, when I say internet, that means I went to a couple of sources. I did the research on who put the information out there and who the host was that actually put the information out there from the beginning. See, a lot of these guys get on here and they start talking and they make all these accusations and they don't have any information to back up where they got the information to. And a lot of times they'll put out these videos and they just got these things that'll draw you in. They use that to draw you in, almost like you go out fishing, you put bait on the line and you get people in to listen to you, then that's how they get paid. As long as we've been on this air, I don't ever remember us coming to a point where we ask for $1. We try to solicit your dollars, your information. We don't go any kind of way. If anything, we might every once in a while we may ask you to subscribe because that's what gets the channel to you, where you can have it. When we do a show like this impromptu one. We do a show every Tuesday, but if I do a show like this, it gets you the ability to know that I'm coming on the air. And trust me, when I do these shows, I try to make sure, because I still represent Two Gents Podcast when I come on here. And that's one thing that they try to hold me accountable. I might not get the spelling and the correct pronunciation of people's names, but I try to get my information where you can follow it. And I think Trump stepped in it this time. As a matter of fact, I know he did. But here's the thing about stepping in. He's going to track a lot of people into it. And I think you're going to be surprised by some of the names that comes up on this thing. And the one part of it that got me, and I'm going to go into it in just a minute, but the one thing that really got me was how they make these deals. When I say make a deal, they make a deal behind closed doors and they agree to certain things. How is something this big with this many people that you go behind closed doors and you make this deal with this guy and you prosecute him on something totally different than what you went after him for, totally different than what you went after the guy for. And you got so many people running scared right now. You got his girlfriend / person that did all the setting up of events, airplane trips, and all the rest of that. But then you got some pretty solid evidence that kind of points to when you do an airplane, you have to do a manifest of who's on the airplane in case anything goes wrong. So wherever you land, you supposedly do a manifest. A ship you can get away with because the ship has like a toning beacon or something that lets you know where it's at. But they're supposed to do a manifest, but they can get around that on the ship. On the airplane, it's kind of hard to get around it because most pilots don't want to lose their license, and if they're flying for a real airplane, and I can tell you that one of the things that Jeffrey Epstein did have was a real airplane. He had a real airplane that he flew around with, and I'm gonna bring it up here so you can see it. Bring it up here so you can see it. This was the airplane that they said that everything took place on. They said he had a bed and everything on there. He had the ability to fly you out, treat you on the way, and take care of your business. And when you landed on his private island, you had a host of things to do. Now, I'm not saying that I know what was going on, but I'm just saying with all the information that's out there right now, it's no room to question. It's really no room to question because everybody has tied him to events. They tied him to places. They tied him everywhere that he should be. I put this picture up before. I want to go back to it because it's a smoking gun. Trump has a smoking gun out there. And I love this picture because what it says is that this gun has been fired. It's hot. And the smoke is coming out. Well, that's basically what's happening with Trump right now. People are coming out of the woodworks. But when you come out of the woodworks, I want you to know why this stuff was suppressed so long. And has it been suppressed? Or did they just not want to give you the information to really go out and find what you need to find out? And as you go through this internet process and as you go through venting people, it's a way to vent people. It's a way to go back and check their records. And a lot of times you can go out there and just see the type of people that they interview on their website or something like that, and then follow through on those people and go in the comments and see how people respected the person. What was his history? What was his background? How did he get to a point where he was producing these videos? And what if he came from a background of reporting? If he came from a background of being on the air, if he came from one of those areas, 9 times out of 10, he's going to do his research because he doesn't want to come back and haunt him later on. I'm going to try to get into this thing, and I want to go through it, and I want to make sure that you understand one thing. This Jeffrey Epstein's criminal activities, right now, it's not about what happened, the sentencing that he went through, his friend that's in jail. It's about how they suppressed the evidence and the involvement of the powerful individuals that was involved with him. See, because Jeffrey Epstein he's not on trial. He's never going to be on trial because he passed away. But the way he passed away is what everybody's questioning him. And before I go any further, let me just say this. I know they're coming into locations all around. I'm not doing the advertisement, but this weekend I took a trip to Dallas, and between Houston and Dallas, there's like about 2 Buc-ee's on the way there. And I don't know if you ever went to a Buc-ee's on the weekend, but let me tell you something. If you want to invest in anything, and it ever comes up to the public, invest in a Buc-ee's. I mean, you can't turn around left or right in that place. And I know I came out of left field because I got on my Buc-ee's hat tonight just in case anybody wanted to know the reason why I got on Buc-ee's. But man, that's a business to be in. But anyway, we're gonna get to this Jeffrey Epstein stuff right now. But it's about the individuals that was involved in it, and it's also about Trump. Because we knew who he was when he was going into office. We knew the person that if you went out there and voted for Trump, you knew what you was getting. You can't hide that part of it. You knew that he didn't pay people. You knew that he was probably corrupt in every way. He had his hand in every politician. He did shows out there. He basically come out and tell you who he is. But he didn't come out and say, I knew Jeffrey Epstein. He always manages to try to get away from something that may come out later to haunt him. And see, this is gonna come back to bite him hard. And I'm not a genius. I don't have no crystal ball. But this will be a bipartisan effort if any of this is true. If any of it surfaces and it's got any truth to it, and it's kind of questioning. It's questioning whether it's true or not. You know, I like to do my little lean true because he has everybody trying to suppress it from coming out. The Democrats want it out. The Republicans want it out. You even got a couple other people that want it out. And then you got this young lady that was Jeffrey Epstein's girlfriend that's in jail right now, and she's fearing for her life. Her brother's saying that she's fearing for her life. And we know what happened to Jeffrey Epstein. We know that camera, how? I got a camera that I'm on right now. I'm gonna give you an example. I got a camera that I'm on right now. The only way that this camera goes off is if the internet goes down, I cut it off, or I accidentally hit something and I can't get it back up. That's the only way this camera go down. When you got a prison system, and I'm the only one here. I'm a one-man person, like one of those one-man bands out there. I'm kicking the drum, hitting the tambourines. I can't sing, so I might as well play music, but I'm doing a lot of things to make this program happen. But when you in a federal penitentiary or any type of penitentiary or locked up in the United States, there's video. There's video. Now, it has been times that it's in, I'm going to name you a time, that the video disappeared. Sandra Bland was a good example of it. They had video over on the side of the road when she got pulled over. But somehow, when she got in that cell, all that video disappeared. And yeah, I'm going to bring it up because we were doing podcasts back then, even with Sandra Bland, when the Sandra Bland case was going on. I remember going up to Prairie View, and they wouldn't even let us on the campus. They wouldn't let us on the campus. We had, as a matter of fact, it was me. I ain't gonna call their names out because I'm gonna leave it like that. But we went up there and we did a broadcast right outside Prairie View, and we had this place where we bought some food there. We sit down and we just pulled out our equipment and started doing it. Donnie Walker was just like I am right now. Donnie Walker had his own radio station. He could set up portable. I could set up portable. And we went up there and we set up on the outside of it. And they basically told them that they couldn't. At first, they gave him permission to come on campus and do an interview. And then later, they came back and told him, no, you can't do it. So we all just sit up outside and went about our business. And this sounds like a lot of that. It sounds like a lot of this, but it's on a whole different level. The end of the powerful. I mean, powerful. When we get into this, I want you to just think about it. You and me wouldn't get, me and you probably wouldn't have got this type of treatment. The agreement that they made with Jeffrey Epstein, I never heard it done before. I never, in my lifetime, heard it done before. This was a bipartisan cover-up. Now, let me kind of help you understand the reason why I say it's a bipartisan cover-up. Not that everybody was involved in it, but this goes all the way back to the George Bush era. George Bush Jr. Let me say, I want to clarify, George Bush Jr. And this file and this activity some type of activity has been floating through from George Bush all the way up to the present day president. And here's what I tell you. Most of the presidents that were in office had knowledge of this information. That's what the attorney general's there for. They had knowledge of this information. It could have been used. And I listened to him out there talking about what Barack Obama was accusing of going after Trump for collusion with Russia, trying to stop him from an election. Can you imagine having this information and the thing that you'd rather do is go after him for the Russian involvement into politics? This was the golden key. I guarantee you, and I'm gonna tell you, I know that megas out there, Make America Great Again. I know that they follow Trump like nobody's business, but I can guarantee you that if this would have came out at this level, he wouldn't have been running. He wouldn't have been the president. He wouldn't have ran for president. He wouldn't have ran for president. And this might be just the one thing, as Al Green tried to do, that might get him held accountable for his actions. Held accountable. I don't know how well you can see this. Epstein's arrest in 2019 led to the seizure of a vast amount of child abuse materials and blackmail evidence from his properties. Now, that first sentence reminds you a lot of what they said about Sean Puffy Combs. And yeah, I'm going to go there because it's relative. One thing about the people with a lot of money, they can get away with it. How long they get away with it, this just shows you how long they can get away with it. Because with Sean Puffy Combs, you was able to see the evidence in videotape with your own eyes. With your own eyes. You was able to see the trending process. But think about this is what gets me. They didn't even try to defend them. They didn't do anything. They rest. You only do that. You only do that when you're confident that your client ain't gonna be convicted. Now you could say, well, hey, Sean Puffy Combs, this, that, and the other, but at the end of the day, you seen the tapes. You seen the evidence that they had, even the evidence that they didn't show you, even the testimony of other people in the courtroom that you didn't have direct access to. And they still rested. Well, that's the way they do Donald Trump too. It doesn't matter what he do, how many times he's been convicted, where he's at, what happened, what has gone on, and trust me, I try to get in the middle of everything. I don't want to be one of these that's so far left that I can't see my own. You know what I'm talking about. I don't try to get so far right that I got accused of being right, but I'm left. I voted for Kamala Harris. I must not be right, but because I like to hear the truth, because I like to get in the middle and go down that road and make a decision based on facts, not fiction, facts. I like to go down that middle of that road and make my own decision. That's what me, Byron Glass, and Pastor Riggins do here today. We make our own decisions, and we may not agree, but we make a sound decision based on the information that we have, and we don't have a problem coming back and telling you, hey, we were wrong. We got it wrong, but we're gonna correct it in a way where you can get your stuff. And the real reason why I'm doing this PowerPoint presentation, and I started doing it, and I explained to Byron Glass and everybody else, was because I want you to go back to certain points in when I'm talking, or I bring up points. You can go back and pull up this video and go back to that point and stop it, pause it. If you can't see it, stop it, pause it, blow it up, and then go do your own research. This is something that we recently started doing, because you could go on a radio show, a radio show like we had on Blog Talk, and you could say something, and it would probably go over somebody's head. It wouldn't mount to a hill of beans. They can't go back and re-get the information that you put out unless they recorded it themselves, or it's a recording of it and they request a recording of it. And then you have to have a lawyer to prove it. So I'm just saying this airway here, you can't hide behind the truth. You can't run from it. You can't do anything. You have to basically put out information that have some relevance to what's going on. And here's the thing. 3, they had seized vast amount of child abuse material, blackmail evidence from his property, despite public expectations. The key files were withheld. Just hear this, because this is key. Withheld or heavily redacted by government officials, particularly under the Trump administration. Under the Trump administration. Now, I got to call a spade, which has been criticized for its lack of transparency, which he said he was going to do when he went to the internet stage and he signed all those executive orders and he put them in place. He agreed that he was going to let this information flow out freely. It's not. He's in the office. The only thing you have to do is go down to call his attorney and tell her to release the information. If you follow her, if you follow what she said, it's on my desk. It's on my desk. I'm just waiting on the president to tell me what to do. Now all of a sudden it ain't on her desk. I just want to tell you the Epstein network, his people that he was in contact with. His people that he was in contact included politicians, billionaires, celebrities, and you're going to find out a little bit about intelligence entities that was involved. They were involved, but what they were trying to do was cover up. And it may point back to something that's going on today. It may, I can't say it's a draw, but I can tell you that it's going to point back to a country that's out there, and they tried to get as much information as they possibly could to protect somebody. And they're good at what they do. And if it wasn't true, I guarantee they wouldn't have got involved in it. I mean, I don't know. This thing was about underage victims that was involved in sex trafficking and moving them, flying them out, doing all the rest of this. And it wasn't just tied back to the United States of America. And as we get in this, you're going to understand how many people tried to get this out and how many agencies probably wanted this information if they wanted to control an individual, control the way an individual act or interacted with the general public or a voice that they had. With that type of information, with that type of blackmail information, that's on the top level, because you got a person at their weakest points and they're exposed. And when you expose them at that point, you got control of them. You got control of them. I want to mention this because it's worth mentioning now. You know, when you have these intelligence agencies, their basic job, besides from the physical part of it, is to get information on people, set people up, make sure that they can control the people. That's the same thing that the KGB did. That's the same thing that Putin did. That's the organization that he came from. Well, I'm here to tell you that Israel has a agency like that that's probably a little bit more powerful than KBG, the Soviet version of intelligence. Mossad. Remember that name. And I don't want to say their name too often because they have a way of making people disappear. If you scared, if you think you're scared of CIA and all the rest of these agencies around the world, Mossad is a name that you should Google, look up, and be very careful about what you say about them. When I say very careful, I'm gonna say my few things. I ain't going past no details. I'm just telling you. And they out of Israel. But the biggest thing about what's going on right now was the failures of law enforcement and jurisdictional system. And you have to tie that back to one thing. The only time that they have a failure of law enforcement and the jurisdictional system is when is money and power involved. See, they don't have no failure when they come to your house. They don't have no failure when they run up on you on the street and you're a legal alien. That ain't a failure. They go in and do what they got to do and you disappear. But when you got money and power and influence, they don't mess with you. They don't mess with you. It becomes like this PowerPoint says, a failure of law enforcement and jurisdictional system. And they talk their way out of it. Or either they hide it from the American public, but you don't see them running up on no notable person. I'm going to say it. I know I might get gigged for it, and excuse me. But if she don't have her paperwork together, I can tell you where you should start. And they've been talking about it. I think her name is Miss Trump. If you're gonna run up on everybody else because they don't have correct documentation and their paperwork not together, you got to start at the highest point. At some point you got to get there. I'm not saying that she don't have her paperwork together, but if she doesn't, you got to get there. And it's a lot of people out there with more information than I got that's been saying. That's where they need to go to. And you know what? I said this earlier. I was telling Pastor Riggins. I text Pastor Riggins, and he's not. And when I told him about the show, he said, "Ron said I'm not going to be able to make it." I said, "Pastor, you got a church. You still doing different things around what you're doing. I respect your time. I understand." He does Tuesday nights with me, and then he turns around and does Wednesday night on his Bible study. I want y'all to go out there and join Pastor Riggins on his Bible study. And you know, we do this. I heard somebody say this, and I'm going to say it. I want to make sure I say it. We do this, and we're not getting paid for it. All of us do this. We put our time in, and we try to put this information out because it's so important that you have the correct information when you go out there. If you listen to our podcast, one thing about it, we're going to try to give you some correct information so you can go out there and you can have these conversations so we can make this thing a better place. So when come midterm elections, we're going to have our information together. They ain't going to be able to put out a bunch of propaganda and tell us, well, you know, the moon ain't coming up tomorrow. And we looking at the moon. It's about 9 o'clock at night, and we looking at the moon, and it's already up, and they telling us that it ain't gonna come up. This is the purpose of the show. We want to make sure that you get the information. And you know, Trump is gonna be held accountable for a lot of this because the only thing he has to do is what he did day one, what he's been doing, what he's been saying, what he's been telling the mega, I'm gonna make America great. Stop hiding. If the information's out there, let it go out. If you're a part of it, you're a part of it. There ain't nothing you can do about it now. Because if you don't do it, I'm gonna stop right there because I need to add something to it because Trump can turn around. Just a couple of things that he have options. And a lot of people talk about it. If he gives the Epstein's girlfriend immunity and she gets a subpoena, you're gonna know that you heard this before. And she gets a subpoena. She already got immunity. She can't plead the fifth if they bring it in front of Congress or one of those panels. She can't plead the fifth because she already got immunity. She can't incriminate herself. She can't go no further. So the only option that she has is to talk and tell them about everything that's going on. Now, let's take it another step. He can grant her a pardon from jail, let her out on a get out of jail free card, which I'm sure somebody's telling him about what his options are right now. And once she get out of jail free, she's a normal citizen. She hasn't did no crimes. She hasn't did anything. Well, she did a crime, but they've forgiven the time that she had when she was in jail. Now she's a free person. If they call her, they can subpoena her. And you know what? The only thing that she can do is plead the fifth. So don't think that's not an option. That's not out there on the table. I don't hear nobody talking about the options that he has, that he can protect himself. But if he does that, does that make him complicit in a crime that he doesn't want to get out there? Doesn't that just automatically sink in and just tell you that he's guilty? That he's guilty, and knowing everybody else, they got the same thoughts that I do. He's guilty. If he does any of those things, he's caught in a rock and a hard place. I guarantee he walking up and down them halls, he's calling everybody. He ain't sitting there like that confident person that you've been knowing. He ain't sitting there saying, I got this under control. No, not you. Not the man that holds the world, spins the world on his finger like one of the Harlem Globetrotters. No, not you. You're not worried. You got it under control. I want to move on. Suppression and disclosure of evidence. That's all we're talking about right now. Everything else can happen. I don't care what they show you on the news right now. It's the suppression and disclosure of evidence. How come it's not out there? How come people are not putting it out there? It's already happened. His girlfriend's in jail. He's died. Everything's already happened. But now you're trying to suppress what's out there. If it was about, I'm gonna give you an example. And the real reason why I'm gonna call it a hypocrite, he's a hypocrite. Because what he thought he was gonna do is take this Russian investigation about Biden investigating him for being in cahoots with the Russians and put it out there, and that was going to surpass this. See, Glass told me last week when I asked him what was going to be our last show, what was going to be our next show, he said, Ron said, everybody walking over this. Ain't nobody really paying attention to it. And after we did that show last Tuesday, oh man, this is like a snowball going downhill. Every media circuit and everybody's out there reporting on it, talking about it, doing everything, investigating, want to know why he's holding him accountable and everything. Why hasn't he put the information out there? Why hasn't he? But I want you to I want to make sure I read this next part right, because I need to read it so I don't mess it up. Have you ever heard of broad immunity? Broad immunity, reflecting a systematic corruption and cover-up stretching across multiple, I told you that earlier, multiple U.S. administrations. It also addresses the challenges victims face, including intimidation and suppression of testimonies. They had people that came forward during Epstein's trial. They had people that tried to call in during Epstein's era. They had people that was victims that were ridiculed, barbecued, put on the stand, and everything that they did was wrong. Everything they made them out to be somebody. They made them out to be a Cassie. You wanted that. You volunteered. You did all that. That's where you tied up at. We just seen it. I got it. But going a little bit further. Let me. This is gonna get you. The 2007 plea deal, negotiated by Epstein's legal team and federal prosecutors, granted immunity. Wait. Let me read that again. Epstein's legal team and federal prosecutors granted immunity. Now that sounds like, I know when I heard that, I'm like, why Epstein in jail? Why did he go to jail? If they granted immunity. People that they grant immunity to don't serve no time. They don't do anything. They testify on everybody else. Go out there and follow your history. Don't take Ron's word for it. Don't take Byron Glass' word for it. Don't take Pastor Regan's word for it. Go out there and find out when they grant immunity to a person, they talking. They normally in normal circumstances, they giving out information. But listen to this. So before I say it, let me just say this. The deal, Epstein and unnamed co-conspirators effectively halted a thorough criminal investigation. They halted it. They didn't even go no further. They agreed. Now this sounds like two people got together. A federal prosecutor, because they had to grant it, and his legal team got together. It was in their best interest not to let it go no further. Let me go further. This deal bypassed victims' rights and illustrates how legal mechanisms were manipulated to protect. They didn't protect those victims that was part of it. They didn't even protect Epstein. But what it protected was the powerful offenders rather than to serve justice. It protected the people that was involved in it. That's the reason why, part of the reason why this list is not coming out. But see, it was some stuff that was going on way before this, before they got to this point. You're going to find out. We're going to keep on moving. I know I get to talking, but I need you to have a thorough understanding of what's going on. Because when I read it, I was like, ain't no way in the world none of this is true. This is just propaganda. Now we get into the meat. Now you just heard me say that they gave immunity not to Epstein. They charged him with a charge. They gave immunity to somebody. They gave immunity to everybody that was involved in it except the person that was doing it. And this is the biggest question on the internet. The black book list. The black book. What? Oh, no. It's no. And it goes back to President Trump. When that lady first came on the air, she said, I have the information sitting on my desk. The only thing I need is for his permission to come out, for his permission to release it. He's the president of the United States. He signs executive orders and they go into effect the time that he signs them. He signs executive orders and they can change the whole cycle. He just signed this big, beautiful bill that they put together in less than 3 days, 900 pages, over 900 pages, that they was able to put into effect in 3 days. You mean this file is sitting on her desk and you won't let it go out? Don't you think something's suspicious? Sometimes you just got to use common sense. Oh, all of a sudden there's no black book. We're going to get into that. Who's who? Rich and famous government officials. You're gonna kind of be surprised. I'm gonna read this because I need you to understand. Whoa. Let's go back. I'm gonna read this. Just who was in his reach. and kind of got tied into the airplane also. Who was on it? Who was in his orbit? Is a who's who of rich and famous. First name, he should be first name. He's the highest individual out there. They include not only Trump. Now listen to what I'm saying. Not only Trump, Bill Clinton, who allegedly took a trip to Thailand with Epstein. Now, go out and Google Thailand on your own. I'm not going to go into Thailand because I'm trying to get through this list. And this name came up a while back, but nobody's saying anything about it. Prince Andrew, royal family in England. Prince Andrew. Hold on. Bill Gates. We know about that because his wife just divorced him because she found out about it. We know about Bill Gates, rich and famous. This person you may not know. Hedge fund billionaire, Glenn Dublin. And we're going to go a little bit further because you might can't read this. Former New Mexico Governor Bill Richardson. Oh, I think he got a government office in one of these states. Mexico is a state, right? Not a city. I'm just curious. I'm just joking around. Here you go again. Former Secretary of the Treasury and former President of Harvard, Larry Simmons. Oh, Larry Summers. Oh, I want to get his name correct. Larry Summers. Cognitive psychiatrist and author, Steve Pinker. Now, I'm still going through this list. Alan, I'm going to spell his name so y'all can get it right. Derstitz. Billionaire. Hold on, you're going to know this name too. Victoria's Secret CEO, Leslie Wexner. You recognizing some of these names? The former Barclays banker, Jess Stanley. Now, Barclays is a big bank. It was a big bank. I haven't heard that much about him lately, but he had one of the largest banks in the world. Now, this one right here, and at first I thought I saw something different, but you might see it just like I did. Former Israel Prime Minister, I want to say Edu Barak, not Netanyahu, former Israel Prime Minister. That remember that name that I told you about, that Mossad, that I'm not going to announce anymore? The Mossad worked for the Prime Minister in Israel. I'm gonna leave that right there. I told you some subjects I don't touch. I know not to touch. That's just one of them. The magician, David Copperfield. Actor, Kevin Spacey. Convicted of what? Now these are people, this is what they're telling you that's not out there. This is what they're telling you that they don't want to disclose. Former CIA Director William Burns. The real estate mogul, Mark Zuckerman. Not the Facebook guy. He's too young. These are people that's been out there for a while. Former Maine Senator George Mitchell. Whoa. It's a lot of people that's been in Epstein's little airplane and around his little area. And disgraced producer Harvey Weinstein. Well, that really should have been a given. If you notice something about this list, most of them are already convicted of one or more crimes. Most of them are already convicted. Now, I'm gonna say it, and I'm gonna say it one time and one time only. You notice when I say George Bush Jr., all the way to the present day president, I haven't called no names yet. You know, we got this, we don't even have a dome over the United States of America to block missiles. Israel can get every weapon that they want. They can go attack anybody in the world. They can do whatever the hell they want to. And they've been doing it. Why? Now you can ask why. That should be one of the questions on your mind. Why were they able to do that? A prime minister is like a president. And they probably tried to suppress this evidence as much as they possibly could, do whatever they could do. And I'm sure that this wasn't all of the list. But let me go a little bit further. All of the revealed in Epstein's perpetual, I can't even pronounce the word. I ain't gonna even try, but it's called BACCHANALIA. I don't even know. I'm gonna have to Google that word for you. But I'm going to Google it, and I guarantee you when we do our next show, I'm going to have it for you. They also include law firms and high-priced attorneys. Federal, listen to what I'm about to say, federal and state prosecutors. Just want to let you know. They had private investigators. They had personal assistants, publicists. They had servants and drivers. They included numerous procurers and pimps, including Epstein's girlfriend. Now, in order for him to pull this off, it wasn't like Jeffrey Epstein was going, knocking on the door, can I get your daughter and you come with me and all the rest of this. They had people, they had a big organization that went out and recruited these people for these I won't call them freaks. They went out and recruited these people for these freaks that I just listed. And I'm gonna cover myself because what if the list had these people on it? And I'm gonna tell you, it's actually a list that you can go out. I'm gonna tell you where you can go get it in just a minute, as soon as we get through with this interview, because it was out before. It came out in 2015. The only thing that was redacted on it was the telephone numbers. It ain't like this information hasn't been out there. But I guarantee it's getting suppressed. I went to the guy's website after getting this, and after it was been out there on this website, and now he's hiding a portion of his website. He's hiding a portion of his website. And here's the part that you need to know. There's a great deal that remains hidden. That's not all of them, but that might be the cream of the crop. But there are some things we don't know about Epstein. Here's some things that we do know about Epstein. Epstein installed hidden cameras in his residence, in his private Caribbean island. The island is called Little St. James, to capture high-powered friends engaging in sexual romps and the abuse of teenagers and underage. Now, this is not what they're telling you about. Underage girls and boys. Girls and boys. The recordings were blackmail gold. Were they a part of the intelligence operation on behalf of the Mossad? I'm going to say it again. I'm going to leave that alone. Or were they used to ensure that Epstein had a steady source of investors who funneled him millions of dollars to avoid being outed? Now, you done heard that before. You heard that before. Or were they both? He shuttled underage girls between New York and Palm Beach on his private jet. I showed you the private jet already. This is information that's already in the public's eye. The list has been out there since 2015. And he couldn't get not one media source to publish any of it. He had the list with the telephone numbers next to him and the people that they called and how they went about doing their business. If you don't believe me, I'm about to tell you his name. And you can go out there and Google it. And I'm going to tell you a little bit more about where I got it from. Nick Bryant uploaded Epstein's Black Book on the internet in 2015, which contained the names and private phone numbers of the hosts of the powerful and wealthy patrons that was on his. Nick Bryant. He tried to sell it to the media. He tried to get, I guarantee if he got it right today, he could sell it to the media, any media sources out there, and name his price. He could name his price. And the wealthy patrons. He also uploaded Epstein's flight logs from Epstein's plane. Remember what I was telling you about? If you got a list and you got the flight logs, you can kind of tie people's name in. And who was at the top of that list? Trump. So don't let them fool you. Don't ever let them fool you. That information is available and out there for you. Ron is not the smartest person in the world, but I did go out there and resource and find out who Nick Bryant was. And as I followed Nick Bryant, it took me to he did some interviews with some notable people. Now, guess what? He did the interviews. Now they starting to show the interviews that he did with those people. And if you look at the people's credentials that he did the interviews with, that he granted interviews with, they were impeccable. They were true reporters and journalists. They dug into it. They found out that this guy wasn't lying. Going a little bit further. Now, told you I like putting out source information. I want to tell you, his name is Nick Bryant. He's a journalist and an author. There's his website, Nick Bryant, NYC.com. That's his website. You go out there and check out his website for yourself. See, when everybody else is running around here flapping in the wind, talking about, I want to get the list, he had it. He'll tell you how he got it. But see, if you don't do your research, what you end up doing is spreading gossip, spreading lies. It's a lot of information out there. It's over 300 gigabytes of information, pictures, and when I say gigabytes, that's just computer information. Do you know how much computer resources it took for him to keep that information at that time? And it's not like it is right now. When he was getting this information, he had to go through some meticulous ways of storing that information because 300 gigabytes sound like it ain't nothing right now, but back then it was whew, you didn't have nothing in your house that had 300 gigabytes on it. Anyway, his information is here. You can come back to this point and you can see that I haven't switched to the desk, but this is a telling part. This is the telling part. It is probably fair to say that Nick Bryant has single-handedly released more information about Epstein case than any other individual, including the Attorney General, Pam Bondi. Now, if he got this information, if he have access to all this information and he putting it out and you can go to his website and you can look it up and you can do whatever you want to. And I don't know how long his website going to be up because they probably going to classify as, top secret. They probably going to take it down soon. Just like the lady said, they probably coming to get her. Or they trying to figure out a way where nobody else has access to her. And they trying to figure out a way that she can come out of that, that they can control her. You're the Attorney General. You're the President of the United States of America. You'd have made Mexican victims disappear to other countries, pay for their transportation. You don't think they can access her? I watch TV, do you? I'm sorry. I know this ain't funny, but I mean, it just shows you to the length of which they will go to protect everything that's going on. And I got to digress because I got to go here. We got a party that's out there, the Democratic Party, that's in total destruction behind Biden Gate and all the rest of that. Do you not think, I'm just going to ask you a question. Do you not think that Biden stuff, it doesn't even compare? It's not even on the level of what we are talking about right now. And I thought that a group of people that were running behind the president's covering up of his ailment and all the rest of that was important. I thought that was important. I thought Jill Biden, whatever they did to dope Joe Biden up to go to these different things and still trying to dope him up to kind of keep those partners in place, because that's what they're doing. If you haven't realized it, what they're doing is trying to keep those partners in place because they're trying to make him get to a point where people are saying, no, he had the capacity to do it. We know he didn't, but they have to establish that. But that, in comparison to what this is I'm gonna use two letters, BS. BS, because we did go through a process and got to that point afterward. And yes, it's behind us, but it doesn't compare to the cover-up of Donald Trump and his administration and what they're in the process of doing right now. It doesn't compare, because if on one hand you got it on your desk and the only person that can give you authorization to release it is President Trump, well, we need to hold President Trump accountable. And that's what bipartisan government needs to do. I don't care if you're Democrat, Republican, or independent. If this is out there and it's sitting on her desk, it needs to be released to the American public. Or if the American public get wind of it, it needs to go out. All truth. And this is, I got this from Nick Bryan's page. And it kind of shows you the type of individual that he is. I just need to read it. All truth passes through 3 stages. The first, it is ridicule. They don't believe it. They don't want to advertise it. Second, it is violently opposed. If you're the guilty party, that's what you do. You violently oppose. Third, it is accepted as being self-evident. We're at that point now, ladies and gentlemen, where it's self-evident that something went wrong. It was a suppression of evidence. It was a suppression. It was people being given a broad immunity, but it wasn't the right people. They took the blame for the blunt of everything else that was going on because they didn't start the organization by themselves. They wasn't on the airplanes. The manifests say they wasn't on the airplanes by themselves. So why are they taking the blunt of it? I'm going to call a couple of names again. Trump and Attorney General Pam Bondi. Y'all just, I'm going to read these to you because it's some things that I don't want to miss. And we need the key takeaways, the key tips and takeaways. Suppress and partially disclosure of evidence. They just suppress this thing to no end. And they want to disclose their evidence and give you redacted It's probably gonna come out where they give you redacted what you call it. But just know in those areas that they redact, it's gonna include that one of the first names on the list is gonna be Trump, Clinton, and a couple of other people that I just named. You can go back and review the video and you'll see their names back there. I didn't just want to put their name up. Elite network and systematic corruption. That's what we have in the United States, an elite network of systematic corruption. It depends on how they want the information to get out, when they get it out. Because I know y'all gonna hang me out to dry for this, but even if they talking about what Obama did, that is another way of systematic corruption. Use of a private jet for trafficking and blackmail. He took the jet. This is almost like Puffy Combs or Sean Combs took a page out of his book of Jeffrey Epstein. Just putting it out there. He walked free, didn't he? Epstein did. Now I don't understand that. Non-prosecutional agreement as a legal cover-up. They basically prosecuted him, but they didn't prosecute him for what they wanted to, or if they prosecuted him for that, I don't think they could have gave up that immunity for everybody else that was involved in it. So they prosecuted him on what they wanted to prosecute him on, so they wouldn't have to give up that immunity of everybody else that was on that cover-up list. So it took his attorneys, as the defensive attorney, and the federal government to come up with that. It didn't just, it's a bundle. And then it had to have some authority in it. Just letting you know, it comes from, that kind of stuff comes from the top. I don't know. I told you it came all the way through George Bush, all the way up to the present day president. So all of them should be held accountable in one way or another. Because the information was out there and neither one of them wanted to get it out. But only until the president ran for office. And if he didn't get elected, you know where you would be right now? Probably sitting in next to Jeffrey Epstein's girlfriend in jail. If he didn't get elected. You might as well just tell the truth. It ain't no secret. He ran like his life depended on it. And it did. The other thing that we forget, victim intimidation and silencing, the mechanism for silence. This was, whew. Can you imagine just the people that was called out on that list and what it took to quiet all of this down? Can you imagine how many people were involved and knew about this through different administrations in the U.S.? A presidential administration, I want to make sure. How many attorney generals knew this? How many knew this and didn't put it out? But yet we talking about Biden and his little team that kept America floating during that time. Come on now. If you could get that information, you had this information. But you were too scared of the people that was on the list that I'm afraid too. You notice I ain't say Mossad, but a couple of times. I'm afraid too. Mossad they don't take prisoners. They don't mind coming to you. They may not have, they have those different type passports when they come into your country. And if your country's small enough, they don't need a passport. They just walk in. They just invite themselves in. I'm done. Told y'all I ain't getting myself in trouble. Media was complicit and self-censored during this process. Somebody in the media knew about it, but if this guy took it to those major media sources and they wasn't taking it, that was coming from the top down, telling them, no, we ain't running that. I don't care how much truth it is to that. We're not touching that. That's how bad it was. The role of intelligence and blackmail in political control. How much control did he have? He must didn't have enough. Because here's the deal. He ended up in jail. Well, he should have ended up under the jail based on the stuff that he did, but he didn't because he had some type of blackmail stuff. I'm going to leave that alone too because I don't want to put stuff out there. Suspicious circumstances surrounding Epstein's death. This man got killed. And I hope and I pray, and everybody in America needs to pray that somebody is around this lady that's. We don't want cameras. We want 2 or 3 people sitting outside her cell door, and we want to make sure that she stays alive. When she walks around in prison, we want to make sure that somebody escorts her around because she's alive. Now she should be alive when she decides to get out, or however you decide to manipulate her conviction or whatever. She should be alive. That's all I'm gonna say. If you're trying to cover up the truth, you'll put it out there in general population and whatever happens. But if something comes up wrong with that lady, I'm gonna tell you, there shouldn't be one person in America that don't want all of that stuff out there. And I'm not talking about redacted. I'm talking about just put it out there. If that lady comes up missing. Widespread impact of child sexual abuse and trafficking. We know that's a problem right now. It continues to be a problem in county, state, and national level. Child sex trafficking, and it's one of the things that they cover. That he's one of the laws that the President of the United States is supposed to uphold, and the Attorney General, Just like they walking around here getting Hispanics. They're supposed to uphold that law too. But here's the deal. We got a bunch of compromised officials, and they use blackmail as a long-standing political tool. I always remember this Harrison Ford movie, and I'll tell you what he's. Harrison Ford finally came back, and he had caught I think the president at that time and some other political people at that time. And the first words out of the actor that was playing the president was, well, now you can do the Potomac two-step. Potomac is a river that runs in D.C., and what he was basically telling him, now you have access to anything that you ever wanted. You can be anything that you ever wanted to be as long as you don't disclose that information. So what's going on right now, based on the movie, the fictional part of the movie, is everybody's doing the Potomac two-step. But eventually the music's going to go off. And who's going to be standing at the end of the Potomac two-step? Who's going to be holding it? Who's going to be holding everything in place? There's a need for transparency and justice on both sides, Republican or Democrat. And if we don't get it, this nation is doomed. As Byron Glass said, and I'm not going to go in this era, as Byron Glass always says, if we don't get the midterm elections, this nation is almost doomed, because you're going to always have these same type of people in power that don't want to follow the rules. They make their rules as they go. If it's you and me, they don't. We have to abide by a different set of rules. I just want to tell you, we have to abide by a different set of rules when we do stuff. If we don't get these people out, if we don't get these people to justice, if we don't try, we're complicit too. We are complicit. We're complicit. He started it. He participated in it. And the rest of the government allowed it to go through the American system without challenging it. And I say, Jeff Bush, all the way through the current president, Trump. And he's been in office twice. He probably would have never made it back to the office if any of this would have came out. So don't let them walk over it. Demand that they do, that this information comes out. Demand it. Demand it that it comes out. Demand that it comes out. Because other than that, you're giving them a pass. That's the inside of the airplane. He can't say that he wasn't familiar with Jeff Epstein. He can't say it. But if we allow him to do it, we're a conspirator. We are conspirators. I'm just telling you. That's what happens. Guilty. If you're in the car and somebody robs, let me just say this. On our level, so we can understand. If you're in the car and somebody go rob a bank, they're gonna charge you too. They're gonna charge you too. If your name shows up on the manifest of this airplane, you had the opportunity to go buy tickets. If you want to go to Thailand, you had the opportunity to go buy tickets on a regular airplane and fly there. And then get transportation on a boat to go wherever you need to go. But no, you want to show them how important you were. So you boarded the airplane with this man right here. So you should be held accountable for your actions. You should be held accountable, and they shouldn't let you run away from the facts. If your name was mentioned on that list that I called out, if your name was mentioned on that list, you should kind of feel different about yourself. You really should. And before I get out of here, I want to mention some names, and then I'm gonna get out of here. They include not only Trump, Clinton, who allegedly took a trip to Thailand with Epstein, Prince Andrews, Bill Gates, hedge fund billionaire Glenn Dupin, former New Mexico Governor Bill Richardson, former Secretary of the Treasury and former President of Harvard, Larry Summers, cognitive and psychiatrist and author Steven Pinker, Alan, I'm going to spell it, Alan Duretz, I think I got it, billionaire, and Victoria's Secret CEO Leslie Wexner, the former Barclays banker Jess Stanley, former Israel Prime Minister Ehud Barak. I thought they said al Barak, but Barak ain't have nothing to do with this. I'm just mention this name because it sounds like this guy. I don't want nobody to say I said it. The magician David Copperfield, actors Kevin Spacey, former CIA director William Burns, real estate mogul Mark Zuckerman, not the Zuckerman that owns Facebook, Martin, I think his name was Mark Zuckerman, same last name. Former Maine Senator Maine, state of Maine, Senator George Mitchell. William Burns, a real estate mogul. I think I messed up because my glasses are not that good. All of them revealed in Epstein's perpetual, and I told you I couldn't say it, but I ain't gonna even go into it. But just know that these people in this list is probably a small portion of them, but they're pretty key. And some of them have the same thing in common. They've been convicted of crimes. With that being said, I just want to put this out here. I didn't want to go this long. I just want to let you know that maybe we need to start paying attention. Our next show is on the 29th, Two Gents Podcast on the 29th, where we're going to go into gerrymandering maps. And that's what our next show is going to be on the 28th. And I look forward to you. I'm inviting you all to come and be a part of it. And just know that if any of these people on this list that's listed, and that this list is out there, that you have the ability to go out and find it on your own, that you have the ability to go out there and find it on your own. I want to make sure I put this up so you don't take my word for it. Take Nick Bryant, the journalist and author. There goes his website, nickbryantnyc.com. And it seems like all those people had something in common with New York City. I'm going to say that. Good night, everybody. Thank God, thank God, thank God. Because, man, we need God. We need God in our lives. Because if it wouldn't be for God, I'm going to tell you, none of us would survive, because we got people like this out there. I'm going to say good night, good night, good night. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I hope I helped you, educated you, and gave you some information that you didn't know, so you can go out there and research it for yourself. So I go here at Two Gents Podcast. Good night, everybody.